How is it going, guys? Malagant here. We'll be looking into the changes coming with Season 2 of Diablo 4. Quite a few highly anticipated quality of life stuff, and at the same time, some redesigns. Let's look into them. Right, so with the Season 2, obviously comes the Season 2 content, where we are going to be gaining vampire powers. There are going to be new monster types. There'll be a special monster type called Bloodseeker, which is going to be something like a player, kind of like a scripted player, I suppose, that's going to be coming out of nowhere like the Butcher in any content as far as I understood. It's going to be chasing us down, and it's going to be really rewarding as well. They're going to be certainly strong, it seems like. They're called Bloodseekers. And then there's going to be the Blood Harvest, which is going to be the open world event. It is kind of similar to Helltide, as it is going to be within a region, but unlike Helltide, it's actually going to be available at level 1, and it's always going to be up, meaning when the timer runs out, it's going to be appearing in another region immediately. There are going to be various new materials, just unique to Blood Harvest, that is going to be only available in there. And at the same time, there'll be something called Hunter's Acclaim, which is going to be some sort of like a bounty board where you'll be able to progress your character as you do more things, not only in Blood Harvest, I also want to say in the seasonal content. But Season 2 video of mine is going to be coming shortly, which is going to be explaining in detail what the seasonal content is going to be offering to the players next week. That said, let's look into a little bit more detail on quality of life that the Campfire chat covered, which is also my highlight. The Scroll of Escape is finally going to be consumed when you disconnect in combat in hardcore. So this is going to be drastically reducing the amount of players that's going to be dying to just disconnecting in hardcore. It's an incredible change. This is very unique to any RPG out there. I actually had my doubts if they will be able to implement this, and I really hope it's going to be working flawlessly. If it does, this is incredibly good, and it's a very good step in the right direction. I myself definitely can consider playing hardcore after this change. The incenses, kind of like potions, now going to be granting bonus experience as well, and they're going to be persisting through death, unlike potions. So they're going to be a little bit like flasks in Warcraft. Experience bonuses are now going to be multiplicative with world tier bonuses. So this is very, very huge, guys. How it's going to be working is that, like, you know, on one hand side you're going to have the experience bonuses the world tier is giving you. On the other hand side, you will have all the experience bonuses that you can get, like the seasonal journey, or perhaps you're going to be getting some from a potion, active potion as well, or maybe partying up. So the right hand side is going to add up to only that bucket, and the left hand side with the world tier bonus, they will be multiplicative. It's going to be incredible when it comes to the experience gain and also the leveling speed. I think they have sort of said something along the lines of like 40% faster journey to level 100, in fact, in Season 2. 10 unlocked waypoints, so there are going to be new waypoints available to you right off the bat immediately. You won't have to go explore them. This doesn't necessarily mean every waypoint is unlocked, but some certain locations are going to be unlocked. Renown rewards are now persisting between seasons and new characters, so you have no reason to farm renown anymore if you don't want to. Overworld monsters, the world tier 3 and world tier 4 is no longer trailing the player 5 levels behind. It's only going to be your level at all times. This is incredible for the outworld as well, for the open world. It's basically going to be giving you the experience that it should at any point in the game, so you won't feel like you're wasting your time when you're killing something out in the world. And there will be 2 additional character slots. There are quite a few occultists and stashes available in both the capitals and small towns, and at the same time where the Tree of Whispers is. At the same time, the Purveyor of Curiosities is also available in better spots in especially big towns. So finally, mounts are being updated as well. The responsiveness, so like it's getting stuck here and there or slowing down unexpectedly, it's going to be drastically improved as far as I can tell. The base mount speed is going to be increased by 14%, but the gallop speed is going to be staying the same. That said, though, the gallop distance, or the duration, so the spur duration they call it here, is going to be increased by 50%. In total, it's going to be obviously multiplicatively increasing, close to up to double the time, since you're capable of, recovering a cooldown and then use it as well. And it will be linking in between, so you'll be staying on your mount for a higher duration as well. So when it comes to the cooldowns of the mounts too, this is a very good implementation here. The manual dismount is only going to be 5 seconds cooldown instead of 10. The forced dismount is going to be very, very punishing still. It's going to be 15 seconds of a cooldown, obviously much less than before. But this is very interesting. The dismounting with the combat skill is going to be kind of rewarding you, and your cooldown of mounting up again is going to be only 3 seconds. Here we go, the Nightmare Dungeon changes, teleporting directly into Nightmare Dungeons now, so no more double loading screen. The events that you find inside the Nightmare Dungeons, there will be much more monster density within them, and at the same time the NPCs that you need to save is a part of the event. They're not going to be getting one shot in the later world tiers either, they're going to be tankier. The traps all around the Nightmare Dungeon, you will be able to see them a little bit easier, and at the same time the CC overall has been greatly reduced, and this doesn't necessarily just include the traps. I think this is overall change, so greatly reduced amount of CC that is coming to the player, which obviously makes the game a little bit more fun. Finally, the Paraganglyph experience that you gain from finishing a Nightmare Dungeon and killing the last boss is going to be increased as well. This is arguably one of my favorite changes thus far. Objectives within the Nightmare Dungeons completely removed from a handful of dungeons. Just find a boss and you will be done. Place the objectives on the critical path through the dungeon as well. So if you have to kill a specific number of elites, instead of going into every single sub path, you can just stay on the main road and you will be able to complete that objective as well. The layouts are redesigned accordingly, and additional changes were made to the dungeon layouts to limit backtracking, while preventing the dungeons from feeling too linear either. As far as I can tell, in Season 2's patch, which they're calling it the biggest patch Diablo 4 has received thus far, biggest content patch even, what the devs trying to do here is that any content that is available within the game is going to be relevant in the late game, in the end game. That's what they're trying to do. So in that regard, Whispers are going to be getting a huge boost, massively, when it comes to items. Same goes for Nightmare Sigils, the keys that you open the Nightmare Dungeons with, and the same thing can be said for the experience within the Whispers as well. The experience is going to be on the Helltide also, and it's going to be substantially increased. The Whisper caches adhere to the item slot of the cache as well, so it's going to be dropping more of your choice. And at the same time, Helltide chests now have specific icons on the map to indicate their type too, so you don't necessarily need to alt-tab as often. On top of all the quality of life, there's quite a few UI changes as well. So on top of the, being able to mark an item as junk, now you're also capable of marking them as favorites, which is going to be blocking the item from ever being sold or salvaged. So you can still carry them within your bags and be safe that way. The extracted aspects within the same legendary power will now be grouping together when sorted in the inventory. The sorting of normal affixes on the items has also been improved to be more consistent. So the affixes are going to be a little bit easier to read on the items, and you will kind of know where you're looking at if you want to decide if the item is, something that you're searching for or not, especially on the rare items. The dungeon map tooltips that have active whispers associated with them will now display the aspect name and the description earned when completing that dungeon as well. And now stash can be searched and filtered to more quickly find items. I'm hoping aspects as well. I really hope that at Season 3, maybe Season 4, I would take it at any point. These aspects are going to be going into our codex instead of going into our bags and stash though. So this has been talked a lot and has been waited for a long time as well, finally coming in Season 2. Gems are going to be no longer direct items. They will be basically shards that we are going to be collecting as materials, and then we will be crafting these gems. Once they are crafted, they will be a crafted item in our bags, we can choose to either socket it into in one of our items, we can still put it into our stash, or we can even break the gem that we have crafted into gem shards once again. This is one of my highly anticipated changes. Finally, it's one of the reasons that I burned out on Diablo 4, to be perfectly honest with you. Enchantment costs, they have been updated. I want you to pay attention, them writing over here, it's not drastically reduced or increased or nerfed, it's saying updated. Their approach is going to be that your first enchantment cost is going to be usually a little bit more expensive, but it's not going to be ramping up at the same dramatic multiplier as it used to. So it's not going to be getting much more expensive as it used to. You will have more chances if you want to, and try to enchant the item, keep on rolling it basically. So fewer enchants, more expensive, many more enchants, much more cheaper and perhaps affordable. That's going to be their approach. I'm really curious about this, and I really hope that I'm going to be liking it. The crafting materials will now drop in place of lower item power normal, magic and rare equipment in World Tier 3 and 4. Now I want to open some brackets over here and talk about very massive change about itemization right here. Now World Tier 3 is not going to be dropping normal items anymore. World Tier 4 is not going to be dropping sacred items anymore. And this, what I'm saying, is going to be for rare items and blue items, so magic items. So you won't be seeing these. To basically offset this change, their approach is basically making the whispers drop more gold, drastically more gold, so that you don't suffer in gold because you're selling less items. And at the same time, as you're reading over here, the crafting materials will now drop in place of the lower item, power, normal, magic and rare equipment, so that you're going to be having more crafting materials as well to offset the fact that you're not salvaging as many items as before. But obviously this is very good change, the fact that we are going to be not seeing normal items in World Tier 3 anymore, and in 4 we are only going to be seeing ancestral items, which we only care about anyways. Much more specific itemization and fixed changes are going to be discussed in the upcoming week, where we are going to be having the second Diablo 4 Campfire chat stream. But in this one, they have talks about the fact that the item power potential is going to be increased to 920, in opposed to 820 up until this point. So Season 2 is going to have the maximum item power at 920. On top of this, the biggest change that they have been talking about is the fact that when you are killing a monster, it is going to be basically dictating the item power that's going to drop as well. So the minimum item power is going to be increasing as you're also increasing your opponent's level. So pushing higher difficulties in Nightmare Dungeon, or just being a higher leveled player, is going to be drastically increasing your chances of finding the best rare items in the game. That said, you might remember that the open world is scaling with your level, so how are you keeping the open world relevance or competitive compared to the items that you're getting from Nightmare Dungeon is a good question to ask. So in this case, normal Whisper caches are going to be providing you with plus 10 item power, as if you're 10 levels higher versus 10 levels higher, I should say. And the same thing can be said for the upgraded caches or the Helltide caches. They're going to be plus 20 item power rewards. They will be trying to reward you with higher item rewards in that case, but this is obviously going to be, and they have mentioned this in the stream as well, it's obviously going to be capped at 920, and it won't be able to push further even if you're getting this item from Helltide cache. Alright, so before we wrap this up, the final thing that I'll add on top of this is that we are going to be getting Endgame Bosses, 5 Endgame Bosses added to Season 2 of Diablo 4. So they have shared this Season of Blood content progression, sort of like a flowchart here, where it is showing you the amount of content that you can do between the certain brackets of levels. But at the same time, I kind of want to, emphasize the fact that how things are intertwined, and if you want to get to something, you need to do something else. So in this case, I'm kind of hoping that this is going to be giving us enough variety and keeping things fresh, but it might also force players to do content that they don't necessarily are looking forward to. I kind of want to see how this is going to be playing out, but just looking at this, one of the last bosses, Duriel, King of Maggots. He's going to be an Uber boss, he's going to be a level 100 boss, and this boss is in fact going to be capable of dropping the Uber uniques in the game, so you can target farm Uber uniques. So if you look over here, to get to Duriel, you will need to spam Whispers in tier 4. You will need to do Hell Tides in tier 4, which in both ends you're gonna end up, having the keys to summon Echoes of Vorshan, which is, the season 1 boss. I'm assuming it's not going to be that difficult. The Hell Tide is going to be supplying you with materials to summon the Galvanic Saint. And from these two, assuming they're going to be 100% drop rate, I'm not really certain of this, and they haven't mentioned this on their stream, you will get a key, which then you will be able to summon Duriel. And they have mentioned the fact that Duriel is not going to be dropping an Uber unique every time. It is going to be still rare, but it will definitely be possible to farm these items in the long run. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'm gonna see you next time. I really hope you enjoyed the news of Season 2, and remember to leave a like and subscribe if you'd like to have more Diablo 4 content and other ARPGs too. See you next time.